There it is. All right.
All right. Welcome to the Practical Pistol Show. I'm Matt Hopkins, sitting in for Ben Stoeger today. Today we're joined by Nick Anatola
Hey guys.
and full Timmy Myers.
Howdy.
All right, we got a couple questions for you today. Send in off the I don't know, Facebook, Tim, or just email.
Yeah, Facebook.
These were sent in off of Facebook. Question is, I am one of those guys that take a long time to make ready. I try drawing a couple times, then shoot in my mind, which take up a minute sometimes. I guess he means he shoots the stage in his head a couple times, so that takes a minute or so. How long do you guys take to make ready? And then what do you do to make ready? So I guess there's a two-part question. How long, and then what do you do in that process? Nick, I'm sure you have a precise plan every time you do it, right?
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing every time. So I didn't realize this until I started watching myself on video, but I'm also a guy that takes a long time to make ready. So when I'm up there making ready, like I don't have a sense of the time that it's taking at the time. But anyway, so for me, it really kind of starts, when I'm on deck. So when the shooter in front of me starts his run, I stop watching him. I do not watch the shooter in front of me because there's several reasons for that. But the main one is like if he does a different plan or does something wrong, I don't want to have that in my head. I don't want to have the visualization of somebody shooting a different plan than me or screwing something up that close to the start of my run. So I just kind of put my head down. If there's another position I want to go physically look at it, I wait till the shooter get past that point, go take a look at it, whatever. Obviously from there, come back to the start box. When I get the make ready command, I get into my start position, whatever it's going to be, and then hit a draw, and hopefully that goes well. From there, I just load it up, and then I run my whole plan one more time in my head, one more visualization of the whole stage, just like this guy's talking about, and I get in the start position and rock on it. So that's
All right,
kind of
doesn't
what I do.
sound too complicated, but it sounds like you basically have a checklist you
Yeah.
hit before each stage, right?
Yep.
Tim, you got anything like that?
Yeah, so I definitely watch a shooter right before me, and if his plan's better, then I may change mine. Dude, Hopkins, you've done me in that way.
Whatever, dude. I gave you two shooters at one time.
You'll be like, listen, I know you're about to shoot, but maybe you should take this popper from over here. I try not to, but honestly, I need to get into the habit of doing what Nick's doing, just not even watching. I kind of have a bad habit of watching. I will go up there. I'll do the start position thing like Nick does. I'll kind of mentally walk through it a little bit. I don't say that I do it in great detail like I should, but I'll definitely hit highlights where if there's anything where there's some weird presentation, I'll try to make sure that I got a good picture of that, visualizing that. But that's it. Yeah, I probably should take a cue from Nick here and do what he's doing.
So no specifics on yours, Tim.
Not necessarily. Really, just the.
You ever load up with partially loaded mags on that?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe there's something you should change on that.
Well, that's more of a after I'm done shooting, I stick the mag in my belt. I've had a habit of doing that a few times. That hasn't worked out very well.
Is that not advantageous for the
That's
stage?
not advantageous, no sir. No, that's not. I did start after that happened. I did start checking my mags at the start, which is a little time consuming, but I'll look at those real quick. I do that. That's at a major at least. Not a local, I won't do that necessarily, but at a major usually I'll check the first 3 mags real quick.
On the line.
Yeah, on the line. I'll check them just to get that out of my brain.
Yeah.
All right.
I usually, actually, that's another thing I forgot. I usually draw my first reload just to get one last, rep.
Don't you actually load with that mag also, I think, right?
No, I load. I grab the back magazine on my belt to load,
Oh, okay.
and then I draw the first magazine one more time as I get right before I get in start position. I'm not checking it at that point. It's just a rep to
Right. To get a
draw the magazine.
familiarization point, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So just like Nick, it starts way beyond the actual Nick ready. It starts when the last shooter's done. So what I'm going to want to do is get in the box at the start and actually do at least like 2 minimum walkthroughs of the stage. Actually physically walking them around, actually visualizing while you're doing that. So that's the time, it's like free time while they're resetting the stage, so you have to do that. But when you actually get in the make ready, I want to actually start with my hands in the start position and go to like step 1 of the 4-step draw to where my hand is on the gun getting ready to draw it. Then I will actually present the gun out. So I won't actually do a full draw on that till I get... I don't really like doing a full draw. I don't know why, but just something I'm comfortable with. So then I'll make sure the gun's clear, and I'll get a sight picture on the target in USPSA. And IPSC, you can't do none of this stuff, so it's kind of out of the water. Then I'll load the magazine, rack the gun, drop the hammer, check my ears, make sure they're set, check the magazine, make sure it has 10 in it after I loaded it, because I usually start with 11. And then put the gun in the holster, and then maybe do a couple of the start positions to the 1 again, just to make sure I'm comfortable with that, and then just assume the start position and go.
No way. I've seen you, man. I've seen you with your like visualizing the heck out of that after you have the gun in the holster.
That's done. Oh yes, okay.
I've seen you because you'll sit there and you're like.
I do one run when the gun is ready and my hands are ready to go to the start position. I will visualize the stage one more time, and the ROs are like, "Are you ready?" Sometimes, and I'll just shake my head no. And you can tell them no as long as you want. It's like your free time. There's no time limit on this for now. I could see them instituting one at some point, but I don't think it's really that big a deal.
Yeah. If you put a clock on it, it's really not that long anyway.
Yeah, if it takes a minute compared to and it takes me 20 seconds to run a stage, that's a minute 20. If some dude takes 30 seconds and 20 seconds, that's 50. If there's like 3 of those dudes to 1 of me, it's the same time overall. So.
Yeah. People that complain about that kind of thing, is that they're out there. I mean,
who cares?
A lot of no one cares. I don't care. I got a lot of time and money invested in being there, and I'm going to start when I'm good and ready. That's it.
Exactly. I don't know. I guess I take a little while too. I've noticed it in the last few years that I take longer than before, like when I was coming up through the ranks. I think that just makes sense on, I don't know, like you're finalizing how you want to do it.
See, I was a little self-conscious of it. We had a guy locally who would take a long time on the make ready, and I heard people bitching about it whenever I was first coming up. So I think I got a little overly sensitive to the long make readies. So I think that's kind of hurt me on some level.
You think it negatively affects you, Tim?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the routine helps both of y'all. I've seen you do it, Hopkins, because we've shot together. I've never shot with you, Nick, but I've seen you do that where you get in the zone over there, you walk it. You definitely have a routine. I have a little bit. I mean, I do check the mag to make sure it has 10 rounds after I make ready. I do that. I do that stuff, but unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is because of something that went wrong for me multiple times over. That I got in the habit of doing this, right?
Multiple times. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I've loaded to downloaded mags at majors, probably at least half a dozen majors, probably.
Cannot check those suckers too many times.
Never put them on your belt, dude. It's
and also, I have a bad habit of shooting majors in one day. Like where you have to self RO sometimes. So sometimes you're like, it's like shooting a club match, right? You're in a hurry. You're like,
fuck that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Matt. It's a different atmosphere. It sucks. So it's hard to be as in the zone with the mag situation. I don't care anymore.
I think the key thing to take away is Nick and me both have a routine. We get set in the same spot, in the same mental state, and we're thinking about the same thing every time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting every stage in the same thought process. That's what I take away from what Nick was saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Consistency is key.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you want to be in the same spot mentally at the start beat every time. That's the goal.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that whenever I've squatted with a lot of good shooters, I've never heard anybody complain about somebody taking too long for make ready, because everybody else is going to take a long time to make ready too.
The whole squad does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you understand the value of it too.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like if you're a newer shooter, you're like, why is this jackhole over here taking 2 minutes to make ready?
Well, while we're talking about stages and stuff, you know what pisses me off kind of when the squad they're walk through the stage and then they're done and then they re-walk through the stage on the way back. Go around it so everybody else can get the free stage to walk. You know,
Yeah.
I
I
tried as
wish
a
that would
lefty.
be like, I wish that would be like said. Like it's not so much of a problem on Super Squad because everybody knows about it, but there's a couple that are known to like say it to people and stuff, and it. I've been known to tell people to like walk around the stage so everybody can get the same look, you know? Get out of my way, basically. I just
That's so
wish it would
elitist
be
of you, sir.
whatever, dude. It makes sense for everybody if they would think about it.
Don't be such an elitist.
Whatever, Tim.
As a lefty, my
Oh,
sympathy
dude.
is somewhat limited.
I
But
try
I
to
know
look
what
for the
that
left-handers. Like, if you're in the position and trying to go across, I'm
It
not
just
going to
bugs
just
me.
keep going through the walkthrough. I'm going to actually, like, let you go to the other side of the stage, you know?
You know,
You can
worse
do
is
it at
trying
the
to ask
same
a lefty
time.
for a stage plan. They always give you bad stage plans.
I've never done that. Maybe that's
Yeah, my buddy Roy,
actually
man, he's always giving me bad stage plans.
that's your fault.
It is. He shoots open or limited, and he's a lefty, so it's a double whammy.
Open, left-handed. Yeah, that's good for a right-handed production.
It's a good deal. Smart.
All right, I got nothing else on this. You guys got anything?
Done.
Good.
All right.
Let's move on to the next one.
Another question. This is also about matches, I guess. Local. You could do local versus major here.
Hmm.
What do you do in the morning of a match before you start shooting? Do you stretch? Do you eat or drink certain things? Do you dry fire? Do you meditate the stages you're going to shoot? Tell us what you do prior to shooting. And I think it'd be good to talk about local versus major also. I think I'm going to throw it to you first.
Okay, so this is definitely, it varies. Major versus local, there is a difference here. It's pretty much unavoidable. Normally I try to keep it, as consistent as reasonably possible, but the main key difference for me is that at a major, you've hopefully walked the entire match, the day before. You got your stage plans, 95% locked down, so you can just focus on being as physically ready as possible. So I guess backing up to a club match, my goal is to be there approximately an hour before we start shooting, maybe 45 minutes, something like that, but enough time to where I have enough opportunity to go walk the field courses and come up with a plan before I get there. So I still want to have a plan in mind before I get to a field course, even at a club match. In terms of what I eat in the morning, I try to keep it light. I eat a little bit, pretty much constantly throughout the day, whether it's a club match or a major. So what I like now is kind of protein shake in the morning kind of deal, and then kind of granola bars throughout the day, plenty of water. I also, hit some caffeine. That's me. I think you should have your normal amount of caffeine, whatever that is for you. Um, and then, I try to avoid big meals at any point during the day. I just kind of snack constantly throughout the day. So I eat like a pretty light breakfast and then constant snacking with carb type granola bar, that kind of thing for most of the day.
Now, does that is that how you eat during like the normal week or
No, I'm
no?
really,
Totally different.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So during the week I don't really, I eat I don't eat a whole lot of breakfast. I usually eat kind of a big lunch. That's my biggest meal day usually, and then dinner not so much. But
Okay.
what I want to have at a match is a constant, even keel, energy flow, I guess, and not be, weighed
The
down
only
by a lot of food at any
reason
particular point in time.
the only reason I ask is because wouldn't it be weird going from one thing during the week to something different on the weekends? You know, do you not ever see that, or you? I mean,
No, not really. I don't really have
okay.
a problem with that. I don't. My goal is just to be, as physically ready as I can be at any point during the day at a match. So in terms of like the differences between that and a major, at a major I'm still going to be there a little early, but I don't have the pressure or the time constraint of having to come up with stage plans. Obviously, the morning of a major. So the morning of a major, I'm just going to try and have it be a little bit more relaxed, depending on what time of the day I get to go. If it's super early, obviously I'm just going to go over to the range and put my gear on, kind of have an extended kind of dry fire session in the safe area. If I got an afternoon start time, I'll probably wake up probably 8 or 9. I'm not going to jump out of bed first thing in the morning personally. Then I'll do like a dedicated dry fire session in the hotel room. Then just kind of lounge around until it's time to go to the range. But in terms of like eating, diet, everything, it's going to be about the same regardless of when start time
Do any
is.
stretching or anything like that?
So one thing I do more of this at a major because I have more time. But I do try to get physically warmed up prior to the first stage. And I do put a little more effort into that at a major than I do at a club match. But yeah, I do a little stretching, and I do a little bit of kind of jogging and running around a little bit. I just want to get my blood flowing. And then another thing I try to do is actually run, kind of full speed between shooting positions during the initial walkthrough. So I'll try to get to that bay, whatever bay I'm starting on. If I have the opportunity, I'll get there really early, and then really kind of drive through the stage at full speed in terms of foot speed, just because it's just another thing to aspect of getting warmed up physically.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So
Tim, you do any of that stuff?
No. I mean, yes. So, like, for a club match, I'm not going to do a lot of the stuff I would do for a major. Unfortunately, I mean, at least at my local, I don't really have the opportunity to walk stages as much because we set up the morning of. But some of the other locals, like if I can get there a little bit early and walk stages, I will. I don't. I kind of do what Nick does for a major, where I'll try to eat little bits between stages, stay hydrated. I stay really even keeled at a major, but at a club match, it's not the case. I mean, maybe I'll have something, but I don't put as much effort into that process. At a major, I'll generally try to dry fire a touch in the hotel room before I head out there, just to feel comfortable a little bit. Walk the stages more in depth, spend more time in that routine for sure. So that routine's a lot different for me at a major versus a local. I'm pretty. Maybe I should make them more similar, but I don't. It's different. I don't run around or anything like that like Nick does, but I just spend a lot more time going over my stage plans.
Yeah, if I had the time to do everything at a local that I do at a major, I guess I would do at least more of it. But just the realistic, aspects of the time constraints of a club match versus a major, I don't think that your routine can be identical.
So is your nutrition the same at a major and a local?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, I don't
it is. Well, and also the difference for me is that majors typically take all day. Like, I don't shoot many of them that, even in a 2-day format, you're out there most of the day. At a club match, it's a half-day situation. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm lazy, but it's just not the same deal. It's not the same level of intensity, so I don't worry about that aspect as much. Maybe I should make it more consistent, though.
Here's where I come from. I'll show up a little ahead of a local, but I'll do the same stretching, same like safe area routine. I want to keep that all the same. Eating, I eat the same way I eat during the week. I want to make that all like routine. Drink the same caffeine drinks and all that. The only thing before major is you got to get there the day before, figure out the stages, and then be like rehearsing those all throughout the night, and then on the morning of also, so you're ready to go. So I think like the walkthroughs are different, and being able to see the stages are the main difference before like compared a major to a local. That's about all I got. You guys got anything else?
Like it.
I think it's pretty simple. Once you get used to shooting the USPSA, it makes it a lot easier to figure out what you need to do before.
Yeah.
So like if you get up to like an El Pres, you don't have to spend any time on that. Or like a classifier stage that we've all shot a few times,
Right.
You can pretty much glaze those over and just worry about those during the walkthrough.
Yeah.
But
I
if you see
rarely
a
even
field
walk over the
course,
classifier.
yeah, if you see a field course, you definitely need to get on that and figure out what you're going to do on that, because there's lots of options usually, or
Yeah.
hopefully, depending on your locals.
Well, also, Matt, don't forget you gotta make sure to call and text your buddy and tell him to come pick up your stuff in his cart, so you don't have to carry it around.
Yeah, I mean,
Right? I mean, you can't forget. You need a caddy.
I had this one buddy that said he was going to do that, then just blew me off all day.
Yeah, you cannot forget the arranged caddy at the major.
Especially when he says he's going to do it,
Get your cat under control, man. Nobody wants to hear that.
You love it. All right, I don't have anything else. You guys got anything else you want to add?
Negative.
I'm good.
All right, I think we did this one pretty good. All right, I'm Matt Hopkins, hopkinsshooting.com. Nikki Anatola's on Facebook. Tim Myers is at Ben Steger Pro Shop. If you have any questions, bensteger@gmail.com. His website's www.bensteger.com. That's all I got. Talk to you guys later.